Yo, yo, yo! It all started with a simple question, a challenge thrown out into the digital void. Daniel Crow, tech mogul extraordinaire, dared the world to unplug. 24 hours, no internet, no phones, no tech. Just you, your thoughts, and the rapidly fading memory of what life was like before cat videos and instant ramen recipes. Crow called it the Blackout experiment, a social experiment designed to explore our dependence on technology. He promised insights, enlightenment, and maybe even a little self-discovery. What he got was a whole lot more than he bargained for. Initially, the world laughed. Social media buzzed with memes mocking the challenge. People pledged their undying devotion to their devices, jokingly declaring their inability to survive without the internet for a full hour, let alone a whole day. Little did they know, the joke was about to be on them. But hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before the chaos, before the panic, there was anticipation. You see, the thing about a challenge, even one as seemingly daunting as this, is that it ignites something in us. A competitive spirit, a thirst for the unknown, a chance to prove those naysayers wrong. People started seeing the Blackout experiment not as a chore but as a game. Friends egged each other on, making playful wagers on who would crack first. Families saw it as an opportunity to reconnect, to dust off those ancient board games and actually, talk to each other. The hashtag #Blackout experiment started trending, not with mockery but with nervous excitement. People stocked up on books, candles, and ironically board games about surviving the apocalypse. It was like prepping for a digital hurricane, except the storm wasn't coming for our houses, it was coming for our minds. It all felt like a bit of fun, a collective adventure into the unknown. A digital detox with a side of social clout. No one, and I mean no one, saw what was coming next. And then, it hit. The digital clock struck midnight and the world plunged into an eerie silence. Phones went dark, computers went silent. Even the glow of the city seemed to dim, as if the very lifeblood of modern civilization had been drained away. Remember that nervous excitement? Yeah, that evaporated faster than a drop of water on a hot stove. The initial amusement quickly morphed into something else entirely. Fear. The feeling that something wasn't quite right. People reached for their phones instinctively, only to be met with blank screens. The usual hum of traffic lights was replaced by an unsettling quiet. The digital world, the one we'd become so reliant on, was gone. And we were utterly unprepared for what that truly meant. That's when the real experiment began. Not Crow's controlled observation, but something far more primal, far more unpredictable. This wasn't a game anymore. This was real life, and the stakes had just been raised. The impact was immediate and widespread. Businesses ground to a halt, point-of-sale systems went down, leaving shops unable to process transactions. Financial markets froze, unable to connect or access critical data.
Hospitals, relying increasingly on digital systems, struggled to function. Appointments were missed, surgeries delayed, and emergency responders faced with the daunting task of navigating without GPS or communication networks.
The convenience we'd all taken for granted transformed into a crippling dependence. We were like toddlers without our security blankets, lost and vulnerable in a world we no longer understood. The fabric of society, woven together by the invisible threads of technology, began to unravel, and in its wake, a primal fear began to spread.
Whispers in the dark, rumors run wild.
In the absence of reliable information, rumors took root and spread like wildfire. The internet, usually a breeding ground for misinformation, was also our primary source of news and verification.
Without it, we were left vulnerable to whispers in the dark. Some whispered of government conspiracies, of a digital EMP attack. Others spoke of solar flares, of technological apocalypse.
With each retelling, the stories grew more outlandish, fueled by fear and uncertainty. The lack of communication only amplified the panic. Unable to reach loved ones or get confirmation from official sources, people were left to imagine the worst.
The digital blackout had become a breeding ground for something even more insidious than just inconvenience, fear, paranoia, and the very real potential for chaos.
Section 6. A City Divided. The Voices of Blackout. The Blackout experiment, conceived as a social observation, had inadvertently exposed a deep societal divide.
On one side were those who saw the blackout as a necessary evil, a wake-up call to our over-reliance on technology. We've become slaves to our devices, they argued. This is a chance to reconnect with the real world, with each other. They embraced the forced digital detox, finding solace in the simplicity of face-to-face interactions and analog experiences.
On the other side were those who felt utterly lost, even angered by the disruption. "This is insane," they cried. "How can we be expected to function, to live, without the tools we rely on every day?" They pointed to the economic fallout, the disruption to essential services, and the very real fear and anxiety that the blackout had unleashed.
The debate raged on, both sides entrenched in their positions. The blackout experiment had become a Rorschach test, reflecting back our hopes, fears, and anxieties about the increasingly intertwined relationship between technology and society.
Section 7, the ethics of disruption, a question of consent. But amidst the chaos and debate, a crucial question emerged. Did Daniel Crowe have the right to subject the world to his experiment, even if it was for the sake of social good?
The Blackout experiment, while conceived with noble intentions, had been implemented without the consent of those most affected. It had disrupted lives, jeopardized safety, and exposed the fragility of our technologically dependent world. The backlash was swift and fierce. Critics argued that Crowe's experiment was a gross overreach of power, a reckless act that prioritized intellectual curiosity over the well-being of millions.
The debate surrounding the ethics of such large-scale social experiments raged on, forcing us to confront uncomfortable questions about individual agency, the limits of innovation, and the unintended consequences of even the most well-intentioned ideas. Section 8. Dependence or convenience. Rethinking our relationship with tech. The Blackout experiment, while disruptive and controversial, forced us to confront an uncomfortable truth: we are undeniably, irrevocably dependent on technology. But was this dependence inherently bad? Or was it merely a reflection of how deeply integrated technology had become into the fabric of our lives, making tasks easier, connecting us across continents, and yes, even entertaining us with cat videos? The Blackout had exposed our vulnerabilities, but it had also highlighted the incredible power and potential of the digital tools at our disposal. It was a stark reminder that technology, like any tool, could be used for good or ill, and that ultimately the responsibility lay with us, the users, to wield it wisely. The challenge moving forward was not to reject technology entirely, but to find a balance, a way to harness its power without becoming enslaved to its allure, to use it to build a better future, not just a more convenient present. Section 9. The Blackout's legacy lessons learned in the dark. The world eventually came back online, the digital lights flickered back on, and the hum of the connected world returned. But the Blackout experiment had left an indelible mark, a scar on our collective consciousness. We had stared into the abyss of a disconnected world and emerged forever changed. We had learned the fragility of our systems, the power of misinformation, and the very real human cost of technological disruption. But we had also glimpsed something else: the resilience of the human spirit, the enduring power of connection, and the importance of finding balance in an increasingly digital world. The Blackout experiment was a stark reminder that the future we build, online or offline, will be shaped by the choices we make today. It's up to us to decide whether we'll use the tools at our disposal to connect, to build, and to illuminate, or whether we'll allow ourselves to be consumed by the very technology we created. The choice, as always, is ours, and the consequences, like the echoes of that long, dark night, will reverberate for generations to come.